It's Toronto FC versus Chicago, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TSN2. Asif Hossain here with TSN play-by-play man Luke Wileman. Luke, some bad news for Chicago coming into this. Chris Rolfe comes back from Europe to join his team, but then gets injured in training.
Well, Chris Rolfe had his first training session with Chicago earlier in the week after signing on Monday with the team to come back after a few years in Europe, and then got an ankle injury that he picked up. Slight knock that he picked up in training on Thursday, but he's not travelled with Chicago Fire's team to Toronto, and that's a bit of a break for Toronto FC, because that would certainly be the story for Chicago Fire coming in. Their second all-time leading scorer coming back into the lineup to a side that has struggled to get goals, so the fact that he's not in the lineup for Chicago is a bit of a break for Toronto.
But they have a few other weapons still going forward, don't they?
They do. They're very dangerous players going forward, like Dominic Aduro. They've got Marco Papa. Certainly Grassini is an attacking midfielder who likes to push forward from midfield and really link the midfield and the attack, so Toronto FC will really need to make sure they don't give him the space to be able to operate it, and that's one way that they can shut Chicago Fire down. But they have some experienced players in there like Logan Paws as well, so quite difficult to break Chicago down defensively, but it's all about getting tight in the midfield and stopping that service from the likes of Grassini, and then wide from players like Nyako, who likes to push forward as well, to make sure Aduro doesn't get that ball in the edge of the box.
And what will Toronto do to deploy players like Torsten Frings and Adrian Can that have coming back from injuries to stop Chicago's attack?
Well, it'll be interesting to see just exactly the role that Torsten Frings is given against Chicago Fire. And when he spoke to the media after training today, he was asked, what position do you like to be in most? And he said, I'm a midfielder, but right now for Toronto FC I feel that I'm best served playing in defence. And I think most people would agree that with Torsten Frings there as a defender, whether it's part of the back three or actually in a 4-4-2 alongside Adrian Can tomorrow at the back, we'll wait and see. But what he does is he just leads from that position, and some of the mistakes that have happened in the opening weeks of the season I'm pretty sure wouldn't have happened if Torsten Frings had been there, making the players around him better just by his presence and by his leadership and the experience that he brings in those positions.
It's Toronto versus Chicago, TSN2, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time from BMO Field. A few tickets still remain. Go to torontofc.ca for that, as well as player and coach interviews from training on Friday.